This One's Wife. Dirty Harry. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. A number of you will recall the Dirty Harry films involving Clint Eastwood as Harry Callahan. I'm surprised, actually, that I've never used the title of Dirty Harry previously. I'm fairly sure I haven't. Anyway, how is he being dirty? Well, it's dirty tricks that he's up to. According to The Telegraph, Prince Harry's lawyers have been scolded by a judge for trying to add a swathe of new allegations to their legal battle against the Daily Mail's publisher. Whilst Harry continues to argue about his security, the court proceedings in that regard have concluded, but he still has one ongoing case with a number of claimants also, where he's fighting with the Daily Mail. The Duke of Sussex is one of 7 claimants, also including Sir Elton John and Baroness Lawrence of Clarendon, who are suing Associated Newspapers Limited for alleged privacy breaches dating back up to 30 years. On Friday, Mr. Justice Nicklin, the High Court judge hearing the case, strongly criticised the claimants' unorthodox approach and suggested that their lawyers had shown a fundamental misunderstanding of the scope of the litigation. Naughty, naughty. Harry and the claimant's lawyers doing things they ought not to do. The judge said that Associated Newspapers Limited had commissioned burglaries to order. I beg your pardon. The judge said that the allegations that Associated Newspaper Limited had commissioned burglaries to order, and that Catherine, Princess of Wales, you remember that Harry threw in his sister-in-law's name into the mix, had been targeted by a male journalist, has to be removed from their claim. So Harry's dirty tactic, alongside the claimants, to suggest that the newspaper's publisher had commissioned burglaries, that gets stripped out of the claim. Also, the recent attempt to add in the fact that Catherine, Princess of Wales, had been targeted by male journalists, that gets stripped out as well. You'll notice, therefore, that Harry's perfectly content for his sister-in-law's name to be thrown into the mix, although the judge isn't having it, where it's seen to support his legal claim. But when it comes to him and his wife speaking out against the people that had criticised Catherine as a consequence of her cancer, there was utter silence. Indeed, it has been the case that this One's Wife has liked the accounts of certain trolls that have been victimising Catherine, Princess of Wales, which won't come as any surprise to you, given the nature of This One's Wife. Mr. Justice Nicklin said the claimants could not rely on evidence from phone hacking cases brought against the Sun and Mirror, stating, "This was different litigation concerning different allegations, raising different issues against different defendants. It would appear that Harry and his lawyers have failed to spot the difference." The judge also criticised an attempt to prove widespread unlawful activity at the Mail newspapers, saying it was an enormous exercise in the territory of a public inquiry and was not necessary. The claimants, who also include Sir Simon Hughes, Liz Hurley, Sadie Frost, and Sir Elton's husband, David Furnish. He's never known, of course, by his name, David Furnish. He's always known as Sir Elton John's husband, David Furnish, have accused Associated Newspapers Limited of carrying out or commissioning unlawful activities, such as hiring private investigators to place listening devices inside cars, blagging private records, and accessing and recording private phone conversations. ANL, which also publishes the Mail on Sunday and Mail Online, denies any wrongdoing and has branded the lurid claims preposterous. The latest ruling was handed down following a 2-day hearing earlier this month, during which David Sherborne, the Permatand counsel for the claimants, sought to add a swathe of new allegations to their case. He wanted to rely on evidence, he said, showed that private investigators hired by the Mail had targeted the Princess of Wales by tracking down addresses and mobile phone data for both her and her family. Invoices that named Prince William were also lodged with the court, including one concerning a payment made in 2003, allegedly for information about his 21st birthday party. Mr. Justice Nicklin has repeatedly sought to draw clear boundaries in the case, insisting that the civil litigation does not stray into the realm of a public inquiry. He has ruled that Harry and the claimants must stick to evidence alleging that they are the victim of unlawful information gathering, focusing on specific journalists, individual articles, and their origins. The burglary allegation related to a claim that in 1992, two Mail on Sunday journalists burgled the home of businessman Michael Ward. Associated applied to have those allegations thrown out, and the judge agreed. Mr. Justice Nicklin said, "Put bluntly, it has become a complex and involved sideshow," adding that he would never have allowed the claimant's unorthodox approach by attempting to run a different case to the one originally pleaded. A trial is scheduled to begin in mid-January 2026 and could mean that Dirty Harry returns to the witness box in his last remaining lawsuit against the tabloid press. Accordingly, bad news for Harry in relation to the attempt to lever in more allegations to strengthen the case, which suggests that potentially the claim isn't as strong as it ought to be to begin with if they're trying to jam this extra information in, but the judge isn't having any of it. And this potentially could pose problems for the claim and as to whether it's going to succeed, which means that if this expensive piece of litigation is foundering as a consequence of the judge refusing to allow the widening of the allegations, then this could prove to be problematic for Harry and, of course, the other claimants. The fact is that if their case was strong enough, they wouldn't be looking to spoon in this additional evidence. The fact that they've tried and failed, to my mind, suggests that the case is not a particularly strong one. This would then result in problems for Harry and the other claimants, because if they lose following the expensive interlocutory actions, along with what will be a very expensive trial, they'll be on the hook for substantial legal costs. We know that Harry's already racked substantial costs up for himself and also in relation to government fees that he's had to pay as a consequence of his failed security applications. If this is indicative of a weakness in the case of Harry and those other claimants, and they end up losing, and they're ordered to not only shoulder their own costs, but pay a significant proportion of that of Associated Newspapers Limited, whose own bill is not going to be pretty small, Harry's going to find himself on the hook for yet more money, which of course will not please his handler, because the diminution of his own funds is in effect the diminution of her funds, because of her absence of boundary recognition and her belief that whatever belongs to Harry belongs to her. It looks like this one's wife will have to try and sell more of the Solent Red spread in order to offset this. And of course, occurrences such as this, whereby Harry incurs additional costs and fails, and it impacts upon their financial situation, is a threat to the control of this one's wife, because it's a residual benefit that is being lost, and she will naturally not look upon Harry favourably. The attempt to add in this extra information has been a dirty tactic by the claimants, and Dirty Harry has failed in that regard. We'll have to see if it comes back to bite him on the backside, but it could be that yet more of those spondulics are going to be hemorrhaged from the Monty Shit Show gruesome twosome. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.